The content of this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your mental or physical health. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and do not replace personalized care from a licensed professional.
Welcome to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante, a space where a nurse practitioner and educator shares real talk on mental wellness, mindfulness, and navigating life in and out of healthcare. Let's take a moment to breathe, reflect, and grow together.
All right, year number 2. Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us for this meaningful conversation. Today we have the opportunity to go beyond professional titles and achievements and explore the experiences, values, and lessons that shape an extraordinary healthcare leader. We'll talk about the journey into nursing, the transition from clinical practice to leadership, the importance of mental health and resilience, and the responsibility we all share in developing the next generation of nurse practitioner leaders. Our goal is to keep this conversation inspiring and, most importantly, authentic. So let's get started. Let's begin by helping our audience get to know the person behind the professional accomplishments. We have a special guest today. Her name is Dr. Michelle Duane from the state of Florida, and we met through ANP Loretta Ford Leadership Program, Visionary Leadership Program. So thank you so much for your special time today, Dr. Michelle, and welcome to Mindful Moments.
Hi, Dr. Morante. It's so nice to be here and see you in this platform, and it's just really exciting to participate in this opportunity. So thanks for inviting me.
Yes, the feeling is mutual. We saw each other in person in Las Vegas, Nevada, and now we're doing this collaboration for a greater cause to create an impact to the community. So thank you for what you do to our community.
Thank you.
So before we start, if someone were meeting you for the very first time and asks, tell me about yourself, how would you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Dr. Michelle Duane. I am a longtime nurse practitioner in my community of South Florida. I am a mother of 2 boys and a furry golden retriever child, and happily married to my high school sweetheart. That's the personal side. From the professional standpoint, I've been a highly involved, engaged nurse practitioner, primarily specializing in multitudes of critical care specialties over the past 23 years. And most recently, over the past 6 or 7 years, evolved in more of a leadership kind of role. I love spending time with my family. I love Pilates and definitely with Florida, the beach, and spending time in the pool.
Such an inspiring woman, and you have so many things going on, and you have built a meaningful career. But let's go back to the beginning. Growing up, did you always envision yourself working in healthcare, or did nursing find you along the way?
Yeah, I guess, I've often reflected back. I must have had a love for science and for healthcare. My dad bought me a microscope kit when I was in the 3rd grade, and we used to have these really petite lizards, and when I would ever find them passed away, I would dissect them and look at them under the microscope and use the tools. So it was either murder or nursing, I'm not really sure, but nonetheless, in middle school, I was obsessed with the heart and the physiology and did my 8th grade, presentation finale on the heart. So I think the passion was always there. Nursing kind of found me. But I've loved every bit of it, and I love how we can do lots of different things within this nursing space. I think that's the incredible value in our profession.
I agree with you. It opens so much doors for us, and we can do so much clinical, non-clinical, and different aspects of roles. And now you're assuming a leadership role. How did that experience help shape the clinician, person, and leader you are today?
Yeah, I think I've always had this just overwhelming drive for myself, even as a teen. And I want to always be the best at what I do and really strive for that excellence, not necessarily perfection. And so for years, I was focused on being the best clinician possible and taking tidbits of knowledge and style from, the best of the best and making that part of who I am. And that was really kind of my focus early on. The leadership kind of naturally came. I think when you're excellent at what you do, people kind of come to you as an unofficial leader. And so for many, many years, probably the last 15 or 16 years, I functioned as an unofficial leader. And then that was formalized, most recently over my past tenure with a title. And I think too, having been a nurse practitioner for 23 years, critical care was kind of a ghost land for us for a long time. And, there weren't really the robust leadership opportunities that I think there are now. And I'm very thankful for, the organization that I work for, as well as, the climate of healthcare today to, know that advanced practice providers, we're not a transient phase in healthcare. We're really here to stay, and we're growing leaps and bounds.
Thank you for your insights. And your evolution from being clinician to leader is so impressive. At what point did you realize that your impact could extend beyond the care you provided to individual patients and into leadership, mentorship, education, or even organizational change?
Yeah, I love this question. So I think the first kind of step of my toes into former leadership is, being boots on the ground clinician and maybe hitting barriers with patient care processes where, I was very vocal about speaking up like, hey, this isn't working. I don't know why this is happening, or this isn't right. And so I think it was kind of a natural evolution. And with that, trying to bring up the people around me, whether they were nurses in my ICU going back to be an NP and precepting them and teaching them not only to be an excellent clinician, but also to be, a leader, to ask the why. And if it's something that you feel passionate about regarding your patient care or your role or a process, get involved to make that change. And so I think that was really important just on all levels.
And leadership often comes with both exciting opportunities and unexpected challenges. So some of our colleagues or peers will be like, oh my God, I don't want to become an NP leader. There are challenges behind it, but there's also exciting opportunities. So on your point of view, what leadership lessons have been the most valuable throughout your journey, Dr. Michelle?
I think, in the fast-paced culture of ICU, the people that do well make like split-second decisions about right and wrong in patients' lives. And we're very black and white by and large with our opinions and kind of, what's right or wrong within that space. And I think one of the first things that I've learned as a leader is not to necessarily react right away. Sometimes things have a funny way of working themselves out. And just kind of sitting back and being open to all of the different sides of a conversation or a problem. Sometimes we feel like we know we've got it. But then, Pedro, you may provide me some context or comment about problem A, and it could like completely 180 my perspective or decision on a topic. And so I think that's always really important, is just to like stop and reflect. And when you're jumping into something, unless it's something life or death where you have to kind of make that split-second decision, a lot of times in leadership, things can kind of roll out and process a little bit slower. And so I've been appreciative of kind of that lesson within my journey.
And was there a lesson you had to learn the hard way?
I think I've learned from my missteps more than I've learned from my successes. I don't know that there's been any like huge things, but there's definitely things in my career where they make you take pause and really understand what your part was to play and how you fit in the larger picture. So yes, I think those there needs to be those losses because they humble you, they recenter you. And, from as simple as like being a bedside nurse and making a nursing error, they've happened. We've all done, small things. And so it really humbles you and kind of makes you stop and pay attention. And I think that's important both as a clinician and as a leader as well.
Thank you for that. And we
Yeah.
often hear that leadership is not simply about having a title, it is about influence, responsibility, and also service. How would you describe your leadership philosophy today?
My leadership philosophy is really integrity and kindness. I do what I say, I follow through, and you can take me at face value. I always try to be truthful with everything that I do. And I also try to lead with kindness. I heard a quote, and I'm not sure who I should give the credit to: be tough on the issue, kind to the person. And I really like that, just resonated with me. It to my core. I think I was practicing that, but didn't really have a name for it. And so that's really my philosophy. And also, trying to bring up those around me. I love also the saying that says, you're a real leader when you've raised new leaders. And so I love that. I love seeing the growth in others and, seeing where people have come and where they are now and saying like, gosh, a year ago, could you ever imagine that we would be here? Like, look at how much you've done. And I think that's really like the joy. A lot of what I get out of this role is, I may not be the leader for a certain person, on our large team directly, but them feeling comfortable to knock on my door, send me a text, or just say like, do you have a second? I need to talk through a problem. Like, to me, that's the largest compliment that someone can pay you. And, just being open and receptive. And so I think that shows, your intent shows, your heart shows, our patients know it, our leaders know it, and the folks that work for us know, if our heart's in the right place.
So always remember that K and I from Dr. Michelle, for those who are emerging leaders out there and be leaders, kindness, and of course, integrity. So
Yeah.
giving tough love to our members of our organization could be a difficult situation sometimes too. So what principles will guide the way that you make decisions, the way you support your team, and navigate difficult situations?
Yeah, the principle of kindness is like at the tippy top for me, then followed by integrity and accountability for sure. And the want to elevate others. And I think those are kind of the core values that lead me through all of my day-to-day interactions, as well as, collaboration and kind of care that I provide.
So how has your definition of leadership changed
Oh,
since you first stepped into a leadership role?
I think my definition of leadership has changed to kind of less about the title and the rank and more about the work that you're able to do. Leadership is more than just like what you do day to day. It's more about like how you interact with your community, how you help to grow the footprint of advanced practice within your region or your state. Yes, my day-to-day role is important, but I want to think of my leadership journey and elevating other APP leaders to kind of a higher level than just the day-to-day, and trying to think more of a philosophy of like larger scope more than small scale for what things that we can accomplish.
Thank you for sharing your leadership journey for us. It's very inspiring and gives us an insights on how to become an emerging NP leader. And I know a lot of people will hear like, okay, you'll assume a leadership role and they'll be like, had a lot of step backs or a lot of questions or even imposter syndrome. Now let's talk about mental health and resilience. Healthcare leaders like us spend so much time caring for patients, supporting our colleagues, and solving problems and responding to the needs of others. Sometimes the leader becomes the last person to receive the care and they remember to care for. What have you learned about protecting your own mental health and well-being while leading teams and navigating the demands of healthcare?
I think that's a great question. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't have all of the answers and the secret sauce of how to do that. What I can tell you is I am learning every day to do better and to kind of put my priorities in check. Sometimes, one leader kind of told me that there's three cups. There's, your family, there's work, and then there's your personal health. And it's really hard sometimes to have all three of those cups completely full. Sometimes you slack a little bit on the family stuff. Maybe you weren't able to go to that open house because of a work commitment, or maybe you didn't make your Pilates class this week because, something happened, or one of your kids was sick, or there was a work event. But knowing that, like, that's okay. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. And time as a leader is so precious. During your day, you're busy, but you're not just busy during your work hours. You're constantly processing. At least for me, I try to be reflective on situations, really thoughtful about my actions. And so there's a lot of brain power that happens outside of my workday, to be honest. But what I've found is I need to create some intention for me. And whether it's, driving the kids to a soccer game and listening to a podcast, I love listening to those, or putting on a really great soundtrack and just singing in your car. It can really kind of reset where you're at. And, taking the dog for a walk on a great day. I think those things are really important. So time management, intention, finding meaningfulness in the small moments. And sometimes giving your brain, we all aspire, we're all, advanced practice providers. We're well educated. Sometimes it's okay to like turn your brain off and watch a rom-com or read a great book. Like, your brain needs that. It can't be cerebral 24/7. So I need reminding of that all of the time. I'm lucky to have a wonderful family and a husband who just gets me. He can sometimes just tell by the sound of my voice, like, oh, she had a day, or, oh, this is good. So that's what happens when you've been married to someone for so long. They just know by your small voice inflections what's going on.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. And we know that healthcare professionals are often praised for being strong and resilient. But resilience does not mean ignoring exhaustion or carrying everything alone. What early advice would you give nurse practitioners who are striving for excellence while also trying to maintain balance, resilience, and their personal well-being?
Yeah, I think, it's that old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't be a new grad APP or a novice leader and have it all figured out. There's no cookbook. I mean, Pedro, we went to a leadership academy. We've been taught all the core skills, strategies, foundational knowledge to leadership. And it's not the first time we've heard this content. We've heard it time and time again, but no one really teaches you how to live it in the moment. And, sometimes there's no right and wrong. It's like a lot of gray. And so that's where that intellectual kind of time and kindness and just taking a step back and sometimes letting things play out and getting multiple sides of information is ultimately your friend, really.
And I strongly agree with what you're telling me. And that's basically finding balance and also meaningful connections, and also making sure that we understand our role and to be mindful about our feelings, like focusing on the present, not overthinking about the past experiences or the future, because that can create more anxiety, and also the fear of the unknown could sink in there as a leader. Now, how can leaders of today create environments where asking for help is viewed as a strength rather than a weakness?
I think true leaders and true change makers see you asking as a strength. I wouldn't assume that it is a weakness. Like I mentioned earlier, integrity is everything to me. If I don't know something or I'm not sure, I'm not going to make it up. There's no fake it till you make it, in my opinion. So I'm very transparent to anyone I interact with. As a clinician, that has been my expertise for many, many years. And so I may not be as well versed in the financial and the nitty gritty and the budgetary things, for instance, or it may be my first time going through a process like this, or a merger or a development of a new program. And so I'm always very transparent of I'm not really sure about this. Can you help? And what I've found is people want to help you, and people almost, I want to say, like you better, but I think they value you more as a leader because you're transparent and honest about where your strengths are and where your deficits are. And with that said, like, because you're not afraid to ask for help, I think when you put your foot down on something or when you make a decision, people support that. And they're like, absolutely, because if she was not sure or she didn't know, she would ask. And so, never be afraid to ask. It's, it's always the unasked questions that are the problem. And so I would just encourage anyone at any level of their career as as an APP, to continue asking why, and that's okay. And if people are not okay with that, then that's a personal thing, for that person. It's not a problem with you.
I definitely agree with you because sometimes they will feel like, oh my God, I'm shy to ask for help because they think that I don't know, or I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing, right? But it's really important to be honest and be authentic with yourself, that always ask for help because um it gives you an opportunity to grow as a person, and it's not a
Totally.
sign of weakness. And if we do it, I think it will improve your critical thinking more and your collaboration skills. Those are important once you are starting as you grad. There could be challenges and hurdles along the way, and it's always important to ask for help and collaborate,
Yeah,
right?
I agree. And sometimes it's like if someone's astute and they're paying attention and they're asking a really valid question on an area that they're stuck, regardless of the area, that person will only need to ask that question once, because the next time that problem presents itself, they're going to be like, oh, this is what I need to do. So asking a question to me means growth, 100% of the time.
I agree with you. It gives us an opportunity to grow as
Mhm.
clinician and also decision maker. Now we're developing future leaders.
Mhm.
We did the ANP Loretta Ford Visionary Leadership Program, and one of the greatest responsibilities of leadership is developing people who will eventually lead after us and sometimes lead alongside with us. In your
Mhm.
experience, what separates a good clinician from a great leader?
Oh, that's a really great question. I mean, I feel like, we're leaders and we have like our original APP pioneers at our side. And so we're kind of those youngins now. And then below us is the new people that we're trying to bring up. I think it's really important that we all understand that we come uniquely from different generations. I mean, we're so much different than like my kids are at home right now with just how we're raised and what we value. And so I think it's remaining open that it's not wrong. I think that we need to evolve, and generations are going to change how our new generation is going to change how the APPs are seen in this country, just like we've changed, just like our folks have changed. Healthcare is ever evolving, and I think it's really important that we remain open and adaptable and amenable to the changes. I think when we become static and rigid, that's when we kind of lose ground. So I think it's really important to embrace change. It's hard. Nobody likes it, right? It's like death, taxes, change. It's inevitable. That's what people say. So I think it's just, it's rolling with it. It's understanding where you are in a process of kind of what's happening and say like, okay, maybe I didn't buy into this right away, but now I understand the why. And yeah, this makes sense. And let's move forward. And this is the curveball that's being thrown at us. So I think, collaboration, understanding kind of where we are foundationally. We're all different, but ultimately we're all APPs. We love what we do. We're passionate. We're driven. We want to, grow and lead and provide, a longstanding impact to our profession and much needed change in certain areas.
I agree with you. Healthcare is ever changing, it's very dynamic, and the only thing that is constant in this world is change. So it's part of our job and a part of our life to embrace it and learn from it, right? And challenge ourselves to be a better version of ourselves.
Agreed.
Now, are there any qualities that cannot necessarily be measured through the grades, credentials, or our years of experience as APP? And when you are identifying and mentoring future leaders, what qualities do you look for?
Oh my gosh. Integrity for me. If I can't trust you and you don't follow through and you're not accountable, that's probably the first. The second one for me is kind of kindness and genuine care. Sometimes we have to do hard things. And sometimes we're a filter to change maybe that we don't agree with, but needs to be done. And so, really being able to master delivering that with kindness, kind of being that buffer or filter, that's a huge part of that. Remaining calm and being ultimately accountable for what you do and accountable for your teams. But ultimately seeing that these people care about their teams to want to make them better. And I think like that's the secret sauce. That's the secret sauce of, APP leadership on any level, in my opinion.
Thank you for sharing those traits and qualities. It just resonates your personal values and also the way you spoke about kindness, integrity. That's what we need right now, right? As clinicians, we really need to make sure we're looking out for our patients, the best outcome for them, and the capability to do the right thing all the time for our patients to reduce harm, and also making sure that you're promoting the best interest of the patient. Now,
You'll never regret being kind. Never. You can never regret that. And kindness is not a weakness.
I agree with you. We learned about confidence, humility, curiosity, courage, and of course, don't forget about Dr. Tracy Hicks' emotional intelligence as a combination of our leadership traits.
Yes, that's true.
Now, really miss our cohort members too. And what about advice would you give nurse practitioners who aspire to leadership roles but may not see themselves as leaders? Like they have this sort of imposter syndrome about their leadership skills.
Yeah, I think getting some great books, dive into some leadership podcasts, looking for education opportunities within our national organization, state organization. There's a lot out there if you're interested, and a lot of it at very low or little cost to you. So I think trying to learn more about it, and I think like a lot about leadership is a lot about yourself. And so you may not think you're a leader and you may not think you have imposter syndrome, but let's say you take a leadership assessment and you find out, you have this type of, leadership quality, and you're like, wow, okay, I am a leader. It's just that maybe I'm a little different, or I choose to lead in a different way that I see exhibited in my day-to-day leader behaviors. And so I think if it's something you're interested in and you're passionate about, there's a lot of ability to grow within that space and to gain that confidence. But I think every leader goes through the same challenges. Like maybe by the folks that we lead, they feel like we've got all the answers. But in my experience, I've talked to many high-level leaders across a big scale, not just healthcare, and like they don't have it all figured out. They go through the same challenges that we all do. We're all human, and we all process information, and we all can be critical of ourselves, or reflective of, oh gosh, if I had that choice to make again, I wouldn't have made it. Or I think that is completely normal. If you're a leader and you're not doing that, I would be very worried.
I agree with you, and those are common challenges, and everybody can relate with that. Like you're the nurse practitioner in a certain room, and all of them are like doctors, CEOs, COOs. Those are higher level management, so sometimes you feel intimidated. But one thing that we are inspired by you is that you can actually assume that role, and you've been doing that for quite some time, which is very inspiring. And now,
I think I am. There is some level of intimidation, but then you think to yourself, like, there's a reason I'm here, and I deserve a seat at this table. And if you show respect, they will give respect, and so I think that's really important.
And it takes a lot of courage and also making sure that you have enough experience to, of course, create those difficult decisions or share your insights about different aspects of care,
Mhm.
which could be intimidating. And a lot of nurse practitioners will be like, oh my God, it's a lot of responsibilities. But at the same time, you challenge yourself. So we really adore you for that. Now, is it still happening that nurses eat their young, or is this culture still ongoing that nurse practitioners eat their young? Or
Oh my
oh, like,
gosh.
can you tell me more about this?
Yeah, I haven't heard that expression in probably 15 years, but I am a card carrying member of Nurses Eat Your Young philosophy of nursing. Graduated initially as a nurse in 2003 and was the rookie new boots 20-year-old bright-eyed bushy-tailed RN walking into a day shift nursing role with pretty much every other nurse in that unit being in their mid to late 40s. So I was not liked at all. And they tried to chase me out. But I kept my head down and worked really darn hard to learn how to be a nurse because, nursing school doesn't prepare you for everything. And I am happy to tell you that I have about 5 of those nurses that I met in 2003 still on my speed dial. And they are lifelong friendships. And they were a huge motivator for me to want to become a nurse practitioner. And they were so proud of me. They came to my graduation. So do nurses eat their young? I think certain nurses do. And they're not the strong ones. It's the culture now to not be like that. And I think by and large, some of those folks hopefully have moved on and are enjoying a nice retirement. I think we need to embrace a culture of teaching and giving forth who's going to take care of us. We don't want to push everyone out of nursing. And so be happy for those people who grow and be excited to pass the baton to have a new teammate in this career.
I agree with you. And we really need to have an obligation to mentor the young for the succession of our profession, right?
Yes.
And we need to make sure that the next generation of leaders and nurses are equipped with support and mentorship because they're going to leave the bedside and nobody's going to take care of us. And
Exactly.
there's no succession of our profession. There's still a shortage of nurses. Like
Mhm.
we're still going to depend outside United States for more nurses. And that's where we really need to be supportive of each other and elevate each other instead of pulling each
Yeah,
other.
totally. Agreed.
Now, I'm so excited about the future of our profession as nurse practitioner.
Mhm.
Our profession has experienced remarkable growth and transformation. And from your perspectives, how has the profession evolved throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you when I first graduated as a nurse practitioner, nobody really knew what to do with me. I know that sounds kind of crazy. I remember having like physical charts. I know that seems like such an old concept where like there was paper and like a binder. And I remember like writing a note on a patient, having the chart taken out of my hand because, who was I to write in a chart? What is this nurse practitioner thing? And why are you here? I think we're here to stay. I think that we're the number one most loved profession in America for multiple years in a row, and I think that we're not a phase. I think that we can really learn and collaborate better with our PA partners and become more of a united family toward advocacy for our role. And continue to work well with our physician colleagues. And I think there's room for all of us in healthcare today. We're getting older, people are sicker, and the healthcare system is just so much more complicated to navigate than it ever was. So I'm just so amazed. If you ask young me, 2006, would I ever be in leadership? Heck no. Would there ever be an executive level APP? No, you got to be crazy. But I'm so very fortunate that we've had some great people ahead of us that have paved that way. And I'm hoping that that momentum continues. And I think it's really important that we continue to do the work. I think we've done the work for a long time, but we can't just stop here. We need to continue to want more and to elevate our profession, and continue to provide great care to patients.
Thank you for your insights and also emphasizing on the valuable role of the nurse practitioners right now. And sometimes a lot of our peers can feel underappreciated, overwhelmed, overworked. So those hearing those words from you really like inspires the fire with us. And always remember to go back to your why you're doing this job and profession. And I strongly believe this is a calling. Not everybody can be a nurse practitioner, and not everybody will want to become a nurse. It really takes a lot of
Mhm.
heart and passion for it. And as we move on to reflect about your legacy, and as we begin to close, I would like to move from professional accomplishment to your personal reflection. When you think about your career and the people you have served, mentored, led, what do you hope your leadership legacy will be?
I want people to feel like I was really fair, and honest, and that I cared about them, not only about what they could provide the organization, or me as a leader, but that I really cared about them as a person, and I cared about, them being safe and them feeling valued. Um, that's really important to me. And one of the biggest compliments actually happened to me recently when I was working. We have a great new grad nurse practitioner working on our night shift. And, I helped precept her and was really happy to welcome her to the team as an NP. But we were orienting another person, and we were teaching them how to interpret ABGs and talk back. And she piped up and said, "I don't know if you remember this, but 10 years ago, you're the one who taught me everything I know about this." And I was like, "I did?" And she's like, "Yes, you don't remember? You taught a class at such and such place, and you were trying to tell us how to whatever." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you were in that class?" And she's like, "Yes. And I've never told you that, but I was sitting there." And she's like, "I knew I wanted to be you." And I was like, wow, that's just so incredible. And that to me is the ultimate compliment. So that's my legacy, is gosh, having someone walk in the room and say, "I worked with you. I remember you when," or "you paid me kindness." That's the biggest thing, is just for people to see my heart. I think is one of the most important things to me.
And thank you for emphasizing that, like the good karma or the law of karma, right? What you
Mhm.
do to others will come back to you, or do good to
Totally.
others will thousand folds will come back to you.
Hmm.
And finally, if every nurse practitioner beginning their journey right now is listening to this conversation, remembered only one message from you, what would you want that message to be?
Um, Continue learning. Take care for yourself. Um, Focus on your patients and your own personal growth, and ultimately look at how you can contribute to the larger picture, whether that's on your unit, whether that's in your organization, or whether that's on a state or a national level. Keep striving to do better, and opportunities will kind of open up for you. Remain positive, remain curious, and remain calm and accountable through the storm of healthcare today. That there is a silver lining. And we have just the best profession, I think, on the planet. I'm a little bit partial, but I think it's really important to know that we all play an integral role, and you are important. You change lives every day. You may not see it this moment or today, but I promise you, someone is better off for what you do.
Such a powerful message coming from you, Dr. Michelle Duane. And we need to make sure that that message is heard by every beginning NPs or emerging leaders out there that are really inspired by you. And may the fuel and fire ignite for today's conversation. And August, though, is National Wellness Month. Now, Dr. Michelle, just for advice for those who are tuning in, what can self-care look like for you?
Oh, self-care is putting boundaries on your mental, thinking about things outside of what makes you happy and your family. Self-care is taking advantage of small moments, um, sometimes doing nothing, reading a book, going for a walk, focusing on what makes you tick and what makes you happy, because a happy you is going to create a happy family and a happy work environment, and can really just change your perspective on everything. So I feel like ultimately that is extremely important, and definitely needed.
Thank you for sharing your tips. And I just want to add my top three self-care techniques for those who are tuning in right now. Like taking care of your physical well-being is important. Like regular exercise or physical activity has been shown to increase serotonin. So serotonin regulates our mood and the various ways we make sure this neurotransmitters is very active and can help manage our anxiety, low mood, and other range of human emotions. And then number two is which brings us to get plenty of rest. So there's a lot of sleep deprivation among healthcare workers like us, and a lot of individuals having a negative impact through both physical and mental health. So our body needs rest and renewal. So daytime naps, keep it short. It can be also be beneficial for recharging our batteries and increasing our concentration. And then number three for me is gratitude. So some would say that human brain has a tendency to worry as it was protective when dealing with unknown dangers like bears or ice cream storms. But actively training the brain to stop focusing on the negative thoughts can help us function more and be better for our modern life. So gratitude practice is an important technique that can be used for us even twice daily, and making sure that one thing that I learned from you is learning to have boundaries, right? Peer pressure and like letting our actions be influenced by others while making decisions. It is necessary to reflect upon whether or not the decisions was ours in peace. So learning to say no or not being a people pleaser is very important, because self-sacrificing is not healthy for our mental health. So once again, happy National Wellness Month. And thank you, Dr. Michelle Duane, for sharing your story, your wisdom, and your honest reflections with us. Conversations like this remind us that leadership is not defined only by a position, a credential, or an accomplishment. It is reflected in how we serve and how we support each other, how we respond to challenges, and how we create opportunities for those who will follow us. To everyone listening in, we hope today's conversation encouraged you to reflect on your own journey. Recognize the leader within yourself and continue moving forward with purpose, courage, and compassion. Thank you for your precious time, Dr. Michelle.
Thank you.
Hey.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante. Be sure to follow the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. If you find value in our time together, leave a quick review. It helps more people discover the space we're creating. For updates and more reflections, follow us on social media. Until next time, take care.